It's not spiritual. You get-
We're getting close to the time.
anyway,
We
oh, Dr. Naila,
yeah.
why don't you tell me about this error? This is clearing the air around me.
Oh wow.
This is called fresh.
Yeah, it kills
Yeah.
SARS-CoV-2,
Yes.
which is supposedly the virus that leads to COVID.
Yeah.
The C, and it kills all kinds
And
of
also others.
allergens,
Yeah.
dust mites.
This would be great for people who have asthma or other
Anyway, yeah.
emphysema.
So it's your personal air
Yeah.
where you go air purifier.
This is cool.
Yeah,
I like this.
It's a personal air purifier.
All right.
Have them available.
So call Dr. Naila. Y'all can find out about this.
Yes.
Also, the House of Reawakening Minds support you. Support the House of Reawakening
We got
Minds.
almost 2,000 people.
And we appreciate you all.
7 people give us a donation.
Oh, that's a.
But it's almost 2,000 people.
We appreciate you all. We want you to know that. We really do. And so many of you have helped the best that you can over the years. And while we can't always mention all of you by name, we do appreciate you. And I think in the future, some of the main people who have been consistent, name them. It's because you really are appreciated.
Because you all are super supporters.
Yes,
and we appreciate you. I wanna just say to I'm just want to give a shout out. I want to share this. I shared this with you today, but I want to give a shout out to Brother Keith Campbell.
Yes.
Keith has been my neighbor. We've been neighbors here. He was
down the street
about 28 years ago in this block. And I think I've known him before that. And he just found out, I think yesterday, talking to some people about nationality, birthright, grand chic, House of Reawakening Minds, Dr. G. And in the midst of this conversation, they were telling him where they wanted to go, and he realized that
you were down the street.
I'm his neighbor 3 doors away.
Mm-hmm.
And he, as a matter of fact, he gave a donation. I said, he was just so excited, you know, to realize, he's ready to nationalize. He's a professional and he's a minister and a Bible teacher and everything. But 2020 has awakened a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people. And so I want to say thank you for your awakening.
And for him, this is what I have to say. I hold my hand out all the day long to a hard-hearted and rebellious people who are not called by my name. When they repent from their sinful ways, I will hear from heaven and heal their land.
That's right. That's right. And so I mean, all of you, we appreciate each and every one of you. Especially our regulars. I mean, there's no way I see new names. I'm looking, you don't see the screen. And then I see, the regulars. I see El Banjo and Sade and, different ones that are regular on there. I mean, I call all your names, but Sade and El Banjo and Sister Farrell L and Sister Jasmine over in the UK, they are on my Tuesday show as well as Fridays. I mean, they're here. And some of you others, and I just, thank them, for being regular supporters. It's like it's the kin folks. We come together, but what we need to do is we need to unify. We are, I'm going to have an awesome show, I believe, on the 2nd. On the 19th, which is Tuesday, with a sister that is a numerologist, and she is awesome.
Oh, she's great, yeah.
She's the bomb, and she's going to do some numerology, but she has a message about what's going to happen on the 20th that we need to hear.
Everything is math.
It's like almost 2,000 of you here. I don't normally get like 2,000 on Tuesdays, but you need to tune in. Please lock it in and tune in. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. I need you to tune in on Tuesday, because this sister has some information about what we have to do, because there's a ritual that's going to happen on 120.
Yes.
And we have to do something. And she's an awesome, she's even going to do some numerology reading, but it's more important for her to get this message out and what the numbers say. So please, all of you folks that are on here, please, Tuesday at 8 p.m., be back on the same channel. When we have this special, and then on Friday, because I normally don't do it for Friday, I'm
Yeah.
excited. I think it's going down. Brother Magus.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good brother.
Brother Magus 9 from Real Nagas
All right.
is going to be here next Friday. You don't want to miss that because normally we don't do it for Friday. And we even have a fifth Fridays. I don't know what we're going to do. But please, please like us, like, share, and subscribe. Tell somebody, like, most of you all do. Let your friends share the video after this is over. Everything is in archive still right now. So please share the videos.
Yeah, we
share
can
the
just
information. Shout out to Dr. Botanica, who was my guest on Tuesday.
Oh yeah,
I saw him
yeah.
in the chat.
Yeah.
He's a dear friend of yours.
Yes.
And so thank him for being in the chat, and each and every one of you, we thank you. And we appreciate you.
And hope we've done some good.
Right. Thank you again. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your love. But when we have almost 2,000 people, I know a little bit more than 7 of you can support what we're doing. But even if you don't, we still love you. Gershi?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Study.
You've been saying that.
No, I can't say more.
How about some silver? Guess they need to get some
yes.
silver and gold.
Now, keep in mind, for those of you, because remember, numerology and necromancy, those are, no, but I'm just saying, these are studies of life and death, actually. Right. You understand? Okay. Those are short, or what you call condensed versions of cosmology, astrology. They're shortcuts. Now, the real deal is understand a lot of things that are being played out right now, too. Keep in mind, the dark priesthood still uses the science. They just use dark side, that's all. So everything they're doing is still by the numbers and are rituals.
Wow. Well.
They don't do things happenstance. They're still using your ancient rituals.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to also, I was during, while you were playing, I wasn't feeling that good.
Atmosphere that is has arisen at Planet Midgard in this last couple of years, particularly, and due to the fact that many of our people are suffering as usual due to hybrid European occupation under the Spanish Inquisition and under the Roman bullas, I find it useful at this time to go over some notes relative to my earlier notes from 1984 to early 1993 and 4 in that area, which comprises my book here, which you see here. Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Constitution for the United States of America. And this comprises many of the snippets of information that that I gathered over the years. And around 1984 and 85, on one of my trips to the Library of Congress at Washington, District of Columbia, foreign territory under Roman jurisdiction, bordering the territory that you know as Maryland and Virginia, known as Alexandria, which we used to go on trips every year. So around 84, I also went to the Library of Congress and went into the congressional records to get some notes on the original article of Amendment 13 with its 20 sections. And because many of the status conflicts that have been taking place, particularly with activities of active Moors at North America, being both misrepresented and also being attacked under Roman law, contrary to the common law and contrary to constitution and treaties, and in relationship to the subsequent controversies and conversations that have taken place, particularly in these last few
months, I find it useful to go into some of my old notes um, to give some reflection on the status of the Moors, of our people here on our land, the Maghreb, that you know as Morocco, the most extreme west, which you know as America, with the heartland of the Moroccan Empire being at northwest of Mexico, or what you know as North America, Al Morocco. And as you all know, that Venus being the pentagram symbol in the center of the star of the Moors, and you already know we use multiple flags or for the different tribes and for the different dynasties. Also, we use solid red flags too for these different Moorish dynasties, etc. However, because of the problems that are taking place, particularly that North America, under a color of operations, I find it useful to go into the treaty book to present some things to you to put in perspective for many people who are awakening to the political corruption operating at North America, and for many Moors who are national and may belong to Moorish Science Temple of America, to the Order of the Great Seal, to Circle of Mothers and Sons, to the Moorish Honor Society, to the Round Table, to many of the active Moorish groups. Some of the Moorish groups, as you all know, have been extremely passive, and others have been very active. And of course, when you see that taking place and having different effects with the people, logically, some people have comprehension of what's going on, some have less comprehension, and because it appears to be in some ways extremes to one end or the other, I'm presenting some historical facts and information that will help bring peace in many areas for many people who may have miscomprehensions or misunderstandings about certain things that are said, or certain things that are done, or certain activities that Moors take, and certain concepts that are behind certain activities, and to have a more intelligent position or view on those things which are taking place and which are accelerating and which will take place, etc., so as to bring a more, what you would say, continuity to the realities of the political perspectives, the status of the Moors, the true status of the Moors, the compromises, and the assessments that should be needed or used to aid our people on this long journey to liberation on their own land, distinguished from color of law activities, distinguished from color of office activities, distinguished from color of authority activities, etc., which colors all of the activities, or all of the actions in economics and politics of North America. And for those who have some limited knowledge of the politics here, I want to preface this session, with some established statements and facts. And this is with the intent of putting many things into a more proper historical, proper chronological, and proper political perspective. Now, world history of empires and nations in these contemporary times has been, for the most part, reconstructed by corrupted hybrid Europeans who have been operating at North America, many of whom have been perpetrating or stealing people's identities under a color of law, under occupational principles, and then many who have been calling themselves Americans when they're actually occupational hybrid Europeans who have taken over the lands of the Aboriginal people, who are the true Americans, who are in harmony with the alchemical metal of of Venus, which is copper. And so the true Americans are the copper complexion people. You take a penny, put it on your hand, and you'll see who the Americans are. Now that's a fact. However, because much of the history here at North America has been reconstructed, there's much confusion because many of the hybrid Europeans have been going to and fro the earth, waging wars in the name America when they themselves, in fact, are not and were not Americans, and have caused many peoples around the earth to charge America and Americans with the corruptions, the injuries, the war and genocide nature, character, and political platforms that are actually constructed and run by people who have been occupying America, but are indeed and in fact not Americans. And so to put things in perspective, it must be comprehended and it must be understood that the hybrid Europeans who have been operating at North America under treaty and constitution principles are held obligatory to the treaties and to the Constitution for the United States of America. That is conjoined with, yet distinct from, the Aboriginal peoples of the land. So that must be comprehended and understood. And when you look at the Constitution for the United States of America, you must look at the obligations and duties that are put in place to secure the rights that pre-exist of both the Aboriginal peoples, i.e. the true Americans, and the obligations and duties in force relative to all treaties, etc. And that would be in the nature of Article 3, Section 1 and 2, and Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States, and Article 4, Section 4. And they should be reviewed by people to put some of the things that are being said in this session both to rest and into proper perspective. And so the literary and the political convolutions, that have been constructed here at North America is well known by historians and scholars alike. And some of these notations that are going to be presented to you tonight are to put some of these false concepts to rest, and also to assist the true Almadacans, known as Americans, who are the natural people of the land, in a more realistic estate perspective of all hereditaments associated with and connected to the aggregate and organic land, America, and Americans. So your estate, America, extends from the 18th degree north latitude to the 54th degree south latitude here at Midgard Earth. In relationship to the political operations at North America, particularly civil jurisdictions or the exercise of civil jurisdictional powers on the land, have been no doubt known by all of you and most people who are seriously trying to solve some of the problems that are befalling the people now politically and economically. You must know that and put in perspective that the United States of America, as far as the hybrid Europeans' participation relative to treaties and constitution on the land, etc., at North America, was dissolved in 1800s. And so I'm going to go to some of the congressional records to put things in perspective so that the concepts that you see exercised by many of the people of the land, exercising rights that already existed with them, and then you see in many instances where many of the hybrid Europeans who've been claiming to be Americans are exercising judicial powers and authoritative powers and sovereign powers that are not vested with them or in them, and in fact having no authority whatsoever to exercise any political powers or political activities whatsoever. So let's go to the congressional records to give you and share with you some foundations for you to have some comprehension of what's going on in the political scene, particularly relative to the status of the true Americans, the copper complexion people of America, who are the Americans, and other people who claim to be Americans are not Americans, so that we can start solving some of these economic, social, and political problems that are befalling the people. Now, the dissolution, this would be on page 94. The dissolution of the United States of America. And keep in mind, the United States of America is a political acronym. So when you're talking about the United States of America, we're not talking about the United States of America, Mexico. And we're not talking about the United States of America, San Salvador. We're not talking about the United States of Brazil. All of these are the United States of America. So understand that the United States of America is a political metaphor. We're discussing, at this point, the United States of America corporation activities taking place at central part of North America under the auspices of what is usually known as the USA or the United States of America, absent of a national name. If you recognize that there's an absence of a national name when they make reference to the operations at North America, distinguished from, say, Canada, which is an affiliate under the Queen with the United States Corporation, absolutely distinguished from Mexico, which are Americans. Now, so when you say the United States of America, you'll never hear them be referred to as United Statesians, which would be proper since that's the name of that political platform. But by the operators representing the political operations at here with reconstructed history, we'll share some records with you to put things in perspective. Now, the Congress operating for the United States adjourned Sine Die on Wednesday, the 27th day of March. And so you see that that's 1,061 or 18, pardon me, 1,861. And you also know that the hybrid Europeans altered the calendars to throw the people off. So when you're looking at the treaties, peace and friendship with the United States, you'll see two different dates. We'll not go into that immediately because I want to save this time for some points that we're making. But you have an alteration of roughly 581 years. So you must put that in perspective. That's another thing for you to look at whenever you're looking at chronologies of operations at North America, that much of what you've been told is really out of sequence. That's not accidental. That's a deliberate activity. So the Congress for the United States of America adjourned sine die on Wednesday, 27th day of March, 1861. And this political fact is expressed and documented for the record in the Congressional Globe and printed on page 1526, dated March the 28th. Now, sine die is derived from Old Moorish Latin, meaning without day, without assigning a day for a further meeting or hearing. Therefore, sine die means a final adjournment, a final dismissal of a cause, and quod it sine die, that he go without day. And thus the corporate United States of North America was legally and factually dissolved on March 27th of 1861 AD. Now, I'll give you part of the congressional records in support of what is presented to you. Adjournment sine die, this from the from congressional records. And as a matter of fact, when I went to Washington in 1984, and I got some of the records because I already knew that many of the people around us have been compromised. And keep in mind, your three-letter agencies always infiltrate any organization or group of people that are enforcing treaty and constitution due to the fact that they know they're operating under a color of law. And they know that most people have not been aware of that due to their miseducation set forth by the Satanist societies led by John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, and particularly their General Education Board set forth in 1902, where they reinforced their practice of educating humans under what is known as animal husbandry. So this is the record. And so what I did, I took the documents that I got from Washington D.C. and I want you to see as a counter to those who I knew would counter me as I begin to share this information. I actually photoshopped the print directly from the records rather than retype it, so that when they do the research, they could see it for themselves. And that's this right here, in that box. That's why I put it in that box. Adjournment sine die. Mr. Powell, from the committee appointed to wait on the President of the United States and notify him that unless he has some further communication to make, the Senate is ready to adjourn, reported that the committee had waited on the President and been informed by him that he had no further communication to make to the Senate. Mr. Foster, I move to take up, the resolution which I submitted a short time ago, an adjournment without day at 15 minutes before 4 o'clock. Mr. Hale, I move that the Senate do now adjourn sine die. The motion was agreed to, and the Senate adjourned sine die. At that point, the United States of America was dissolved. So when people talk about the economic problems that they're experiencing today with the private commercial paper or private commercial paper notes belonging to the Jesuit order and to the Pope of Rome via the Federal Reserve, etc., are controlled by the Satanist societies, secret societies, for the enforcement of the unum sanctum operations of the Pope of Rome, under the unum sanctum operations and the Spanish Inquisition against the Moors, and the conquest of the Western Hemisphere, known as under the military code of the conquest by Columbus, etc., which is not so much a man as it is a military operation. For the Jesuit order, which is a military operation and has nothing to do with spiritual development whatsoever, never did. And from these improper constructs came most of your three-letter agencies that now actually rule at the Maghreb and have been causing the wars in the different nation states around the world, particularly in Africa and Asia, as they have already, conquered the Maghreb or the Western Hemisphere. And so that must be put in perspective when you go into these things. And the other thing that I want to bring to your attention, and this is in relationship to many of the so-called because this is a nom de guerre construct, the so-called black community is a branding concept. It has nothing to do with bloodline, pedigree, or African people. It has to do with a branding system constructed to separate or to cause what you call political disassociation, as well as mental or psychic attack or disassociation of African peoples from their land here in America, which is Al-Marak. the Maghreb, etc., and to support the reconstructed history that has been put forth by Satanist writers and scholars in order to secure the psychological warfare and psychic attack programs that are necessary to disinherit it and to disenfranchise the true Americans from the land and from what you would call any grounded or solid political activities or hereditament claims, etc., or estate claims, commonly just simply referred to as to enforce colonial operations. I want to go into the original article of Amendment 13, and in particularly, I want to I'll read through it with its 20 sections, and this comes from from the congressional records. And I want you all to take note of Article 12, and this is to put in perspective the actual status of the Aboriginal people here, distinguished from what you've been told in both the reconstructed history books and also that you've been told by people who have been assigned by the conquerors to help miseducate the people, to disconnect them from the land, etc. By promoting what you would call the 14th Amendment civil rights Negro citizenship status, which is a total and absolute misrepresentation and a total fraud. Below, and I also can't say this from the original print. That's from the original print. That's not a retype, that's the original print. The original 20 sections of the 13th Amendment from the pages of the congressional records, Article 13. Section 1. All persons shall have the right peaceably to assemble and worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. Section 2. The use of the public press shall not be obstructed, but criminal publications made in one state against the lawful institutions of another state shall not be allowed. Section 3. The right of the citizens to free and lawful speech in public assemblies shall not be denied. Access of citizens to the ballot box shall not be obstructed either by civil or military power. The military shall always be subordinate to the existing judicial authority over citizens. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall never be suspended in the presence of the judicial authority. Section 4. The militia of a state or of the United States shall not be employed to invade the lawful rights of the people of any of the several states, but the United States shall not be hereby deprived of the right and power to defend and to protect its property and rights within the limits of any of the states. Section 5. Persons held to service or labor for life in any state under the laws thereof may be taken into any territory of the United States south of north latitude 3630, and the right of such service or labor shall not be impaired thereby, and the territorial legislature thereof shall have the exclusive right to make and shall make all needful rules and regulations for the protection of such right, and also for the protection of such persons. But Congress or any territorial legislature shall not have power to impair or abolish such right of service in said territory while in a territorial condition without the consent of all the states south of said latitude which maintain such service. Section 6. Involuntary servitude, except for crime, shall not be permanently established within the district set apart for the seat of government of the United States, but the right of sojourn in such district, which persons held to service or labor for life shall not be denied. Section 7. When any territory of the United States south of north latitude 3630 shall have a population equal to the ratio of representation for one member of Congress, and the people thereof shall have formed a constitution for republican form of government, it shall be admitted as a state into the Union on an equal footing with the other states, and the people may in such constitution either prohibit or sustain the right to involuntary labor or service, and alter or amend the Constitution at their will. Section 8. The present right of representation in Section 2, Article 1 of this Constitution shall not be altered without the consent of all the states maintaining the right to involuntary service or labor south of latitude 3630. But nothing in this Constitution or its amendments shall be construed to deprive any state south of said latitude 3630 of the right of abolishing involuntary servitude at its will. Section 9. The regulation and control of the right to labor or service in any of the states south of latitude 3630 is hereby recognized to be exclusively the right of each state within its own limits, and the Constitution shall not be altered or amended to impair the right of each state without its consent, provided this article shall not be construed to absolve the United States from rendering assistance to suppress insurrections or domestic violence when called upon by any state as provided in Section 4, Article 4 of this Constitution. Section 10. No state shall pass any law in any way interfering with or obstructing the recovery of fugitives from justice or from labor or service, or any law of Congress made under Article 4, Section 2 of this Constitution, and all laws in violation of this section may, on complaint made by any person or state, be declared void by the Supreme Court of the United States. Section 11. As a right of comity between the several states south of latitude 3630, the right of transit with persons held into involuntary labor or service from one state to another shall not be obstructed, but such persons shall not be brought into the states north of south latitude. Section 12. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death, and the forfeiture of all the rights and the property of all persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Section 13. The alleged fugitives from labor or service on request shall have a trial by jury before being returned. Section 14. All alleged fugitives charged with crime committed in violation of the laws of the state shall have the right of trial by jury, and if such person claims to be a citizen of another state, shall have a right to appeal or of a writ of error to the Supreme Court of the United States. Section 15. All acts of any inhabitant of the United States tending to incite persons held to service or labor to insurrection or acts of domestic violence or to abscond are hereby prohibited, and declared to be a penal offense. And all courts of the United States shall be open to suppress and punish such offenses as the suit of any citizen of the United States or the suit of any state. Section 16. All conspiracies in any state to interfere with the lawful rights in any other state or against the United States shall be suppressed, and no state of the people thereof shall withdraw from this union without the consent of 3/4 of all the states expressed by an amendment proposed and ratified in the manner provided in Article 5 of the Constitution. Section 17. Whenever any state wherein involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary assistance therein, the Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief, not exceeding $100 for each person liberated. But Congress shall not propose such abolishment or relief to any state. Congress may assist free persons of African descent to immigrate and colonize Africa. Section 18. Duties on imports may be imposed for revenue, but shall not be excessive or prohibitory in amount. Section 19. When all of the several states shall have abolished slavery, then and thereafter slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall never be established or tolerated in any of the states or territories of the United States, and they shall be forever free. Section 20. The provisions of this article relating to involuntary labor or servitude shall not be altered without the consent of the states maintaining such servitude. Close out. That is the 20 sections of original Article of Amendment 13, which is not taught in the schools, and it's not by accident, because the scholars, the historians, and the politicians at North America themselves, not only did they dissolve or abrogate their obligations and duties as officers for the Constitution for the United States by adjourning sine die and, of course, assassinating Abraham Lincoln, they have been operating ever since de facto and pretending to be a legitimate political platform, and have successfully miseducated the people, misrepresented themselves as a legitimate nation state around the world, when in fact they were private corporations that went bankrupt, etc., and under subversion actually adjourned sine die with the already established plan to assassinate Abraham Lincoln in the process of their adjourning sine die. So in 1861, the United States of America as a political platform was dissolved. Did not remove the obligations of treaties, etc., which supersede the Constitution, from which that Constitution was derived from fatwa, or known as Moorish law or Muslim law, which is no secret to scholars, etc., which Barack H. Obama also exposed when he went to Egypt, knowing that that information has not been taught in the school books at North America. However, I want to share with you also some other facts so that your concepts about the politics that have been misrepresented at North America and the fake educations that have been given to the true Americans. And you true Americans are you copper complexion people out there, since you're not black, you're copper complexion. And black is not an identity. Keep that in mind. It's a nom de guerre. It's a brand. But I'm going to share with you some facts, and this is from the Secretary of State this is in the area of 1906, a letter that was written to him because they were also dealing with the status of our people, because many of our people rebutted being branded Negroes, blacks, and coloreds, and going under those brand terms constructed for the caste system operating at North America, particularly with de facto operators pretending to be government because they were still exercising judicial powers on the land in violation of treaty and constitution, and also still abusing our people with the old term they call "go west, young man," and stealing the people's lands, etc., under their corporate operations. Now, this was a letter. This would be from documents in your congressional records, pardon me, and under the laws of citizenship of the United States and the expatriation, etc. And this would be page 459, and this would be in relationship to chapter 4, and this is temporary provisions. And I want you to see this. This is citizenship of the United States, expatriation, etc. And I want you to notice right under here, United States, and you see right there, Morocco. It's no secret. I want you to see that's direct congressional print right there. Now, Mr. Phillip, charge d'affaires, to Mr. Root, Secretary of State, August the 3rd, 1906, American Legation, Tangier, August the 3rd, 1906. Sir, there are strictly speaking, no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship of Moorish subjects in Morocco. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely upon the Islamic code, in no part of which treats of the subject of citizenship. Page 460, citizenship of the United States, expatriation, etc. There are, however, numerous treaties and conventions between the various Christian countries and the Moorish Empire, by means of which citizenship in this country is defined. But as I understand from the above acknowledged instructions, that it is not the desire of the department to call for a report upon such lines, I will therefore confine these remarks to general conditions existing which may possibly be of some use in connection with the information desired. Number one, citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure as Moorish subjects. 2 and 3. Moorish subjects lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relations with the Moorish Empire. It was established by the Convention of Madrid, concluded July 3rd, 1880, as follows. Article 15. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time to that which shall have not been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between entire submission to the laws of the empire and the obligation to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained with the consent of Morocco, government of Morocco. Now, I present that to you, to present this argument to you. Number one, the United States as a viable and legitimate political platform was dissolved in 1861. They've been exercising de facto operations ever since. Number two, the guise of the 14th Amendment so-called Negro citizen operations to deceive the people into being U.S. citizens when it's clear that people of African descent, that's the true Americans, cannot be citizens of the U.S. corporation because it's a private corporation, number one, and they're foreign Europeans occupying America. They're not the people of America, although they have been doing what you call identity theft. So those facts are there. And number two, there is no record, in fact, of any lawful process by which the Moors of America, the true Americans, have ever gone through any official naturalization exercise, act, or institutional process, given a nationality card for the U.S. corporation, etc., at any time in history at North America. Therefore, any claim that any people of African descent are U.S. citizens was a fraud, is a fraud, and shall ever be a fraud. And if it ever took place, etc., which it did not, it would still be a fraud because by the law, people of African descent cannot be citizens of the United States of America Corporation because it's not a country. It's an occupational force that has also been dissolved. However, that fact has not been taught to the people, and people have been wasting years of their lives following so-called black and Negro leaders who've been marching them around the place on their own land, trying to be citizens of the U.S. corporation, which is defunct. Although you have criminal operatives or what you call Satanist secret societies who have been really under foreign corporate operations, exercising judicial and political jurisdictional civil powers at North America in violation of moral principles, in violation of all ethics, in violation of all law, in violations of constitutions, in violation of international law, in violations of all treaties, and yet they have been given the respect as a legitimate nation when in fact, by their own records, I just showed you that not only are they not legitimate, the whole fake platform of people with copper complexion, the true Americans, can't be U.S. citizens either. And I know because of the compromise of many people among our own who have been for decades promoting U.S. citizenship, they have never produced a nationality card, number one, because it's not a nation. Number two, because even their political platform was dissolved, and this is why they've been continuing the frauds on multiple levels against human rights. And this is, again, why they've been exercising genocidal operations against African people and American people who are still of African descent, the true Americans, for decades, for the last couple of centuries, and still guising themselves as Americans when in fact they are not, and guising themselves and hiding behind religious tags of which they are not. But unfortunately, you still have the false pretext of people of the land, some of them with copper complexion, who have been promoting the frauds that they themselves know is a fraud by claiming the people of the land to be black people and Negro people, etc., when they know that these are nom de guerre created for a caste system having nothing to do with the true Al-Moroccans, i.e., which is the copper complexion people of the land, etc. And they've allowed without contest or without rebutting hybrid Europeans claiming to be Americans and have created all this hell on earth against all of the nations of the earth and are now doing the best that they can to destroy civilized society at the expense of the common people of the land. And in contrary to the divine laws and principles laws of nature's God and nature's law as expressed in the unanimous Declaration of Independence with recognition of the pre-existing unalienable rights of natural sentient living men and women under which the constructions of government are based, etc., for no other purpose, only to preserve the pre-existing rights of the people, known also as birthrights and unalienable rights, and that such governments have no rights unto themselves and have no rights to give, no rights to sell. They have only obligations and duties, and that must never be forgotten by the people. And I want to also present to you some of my notes from 1984. This is for the concepts of the people to correct a lot of their concepts. And I will enter, this is common law. And this must be recognized because this is where you have what is called the natural, or what is known as the nature's law and nature's God principle, has this reflection in what you will call the Constitution principles that are relegated in operative government, that sets forth the obligations of beings who take any office, etc. Common law is distinguished from Roman law. I repeat, common law is distinguished from Roman law. Common law is distinguished from the modern civil law and distinguished from the canon law and from other systems of law. The common law is that body of law and justice theory which was originated, developed, and formulated and administered in England. And keep in mind that England is a part of Iberia. And Iberia, and that ancient principle, comes from Muslim law. And so you're talking about Queen Dodo, and you're talking about Nefertiti's daughter, etc. You're talking North Africa. So you got to put that in perspective with the reconstructed, or what is known as reconstructed history of Iberia, now known as Europe, history of Europe. So you're talking about the Picts, the Moors, and the Dubs, all of whom are Africans. So see, the Renaissance initiated in Spain and in Italy, and its influence upon Europe during the 14th to the 16th centuries. Common law is distinguished from law created by the enactment of legislatures. The common law comprises the body of those principles and rules of action relating to the government and to the security of persons and property, which derive their authority solely from the usages and customs of immemorial antiquity. Immemorial antiquity. Or from the judgments and decrees of the courts recognizing, affirming, and enforcing such usages and customs, and in this sense, particularly, the ancient unwritten law of England, which logically is from ancient Iberia. So you're going pre-Inquisition, because it's ancient. That's why when you read law books, it says ancient and modern when you go into dictionaries. Common law is distinguished from equity law, as it is a body of rules and principles, written or unwritten, which are fixed and immutable authority, and which must be applied to controversies rigorously and in their entirety, and cannot be modified to suit the peculiarities of a specific case or colored by any judicial discretion, and which rests confessedly upon the custom or statute as distinguished from any claim to ethical superiority. This is based in the ancient principle of African culture, where the honor of your mothers and your fathers are related to your heritability and to your rights of your land and your estates, etc. And therefore, the common law is based on customs and traditions of your ancient mothers and fathers from time immemorial, distinguished from Roman law, which has been operating at North America under a color of authority and exercised with owners and beneficiaries and fiduciaries and trustees doing business as the corporate United States of America, which was dissolved in 1861 and is in fact defunct, but has been resurrected and has been operating unlawfully on the land since 1861, and those processes have continued to this day without most of the people of the land being aware that the whole platform of operations of the states of subsidiary franchises are in fact criminal operations, and this is and was and is the sources of all of your wars and all of your poverty and all of the fake platforms of genocide that have been hidden and veiled under the fake race and prejudice platform, which is a fake platform created by three-letter agencies who have been still exercising Inquisition Bulla operations of Unum Sanctum, Dum Diversus, Intercatera Divina, etc., against the Aboriginal people of the land, the true Americans, the copper complexioned people, disguised under other fake terms, etc., and continues to this day. However, for the sake of those Moors who do honor their mothers and fathers and who intend to be active and not passive, will speak up and tell the truth to themselves, to the people, and to the imposters who have been pretending to be Americans, and who have been pretending to be legitimate government, but in fact who have actually been entertaining and exercising false judicial powers and civil powers on the land in violation of international law, and actually have been on a genocide campaign against the people, the natural people of the land, with both their nom-de-guerre, straw man constructs, their bottomry instruments, whether you're talking about the marriage licenses, the driver's licenses, the birth certificates, etc., which have been bolstering their stock market, particularly since 1862, commonly known as U.S. Treasury bonds, etc., which have caused problems in the treasuries of all the nations of the earth around the world today. And in truth, except in a few past instances, has not been challenged by the people, but now you start seeing it take place. And I'm saying to you that this has much to do with the politics that you see taking place around the world, with the economic collapses going on, with these criminals known as the United States Corporation Company that are defunct and are still exercising under de facto and color of law operations. That's where all your economic problems have their origin, and that's where they are, and those people are your problem. Now, that's the truth. That's the record. And so your original article, Amendment 13, was covered up with what is known as your 14th and 15th Amendment. And this is why you do not see that in the history books or in your social studies books in the school systems, because the Satanist organization set up, known as the General Education Board in 1902 by John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, promoting animal husbandry under the guise of education, have deleted it with the support of and the help of de facto operators pretending to be Congress and Senate of a de facto political platform which was dissolved in 1861. And here we are with the problems that they have created. And you